Hello, and welcome to Pop Crime TV's The Outlier podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Conlin, and oh my goodness, there has been so much breaking news this week. I really can't keep up. I really haven't been sleeping well either, I think because of a lot of what's going on, or every time I wake up, I do that thing where I'm like, did I run a marathon or did I do something because my body aches and my neck hurts? And I'm like, oh, no, that's cool. I just went to sleep. So here we are. But the week started off with Daniel Penny being found not guilty in the subway chokehold of Jordan Neely. So he was found not guilty of negligent homicide. And he was originally charged with manslaughter, but the DA's office, the Friday before the verdict came out, they decided to drop that charge. And I think they dropped it for a number of reasons, but the jury came out twice previously and gave the note a judge explaining that they were deadlocked. And I think personally that Alvin Bragg and his team was like, oh yeah, let's drop manslaughter so we actually get a conviction here on negligent homicide, which still holds a prison sentence in New York of 4 years. And also, it really opens you up to be sued civilly. So I think the DA's office was trying to be sneaky, and it really backfired because, in my opinion, the jury, they asked some good questions. They really wanted to know more about the Emmy ruling. And I think the Emmy ruling was one of the most damning things about this trial in terms of the fact that the Emmy conclusively stated that Jordan Neely died of asphyxiation, but she did so without having a toxicology report. And that is just really, that's not good practice. And for me, just as a lay, I was always very confused as to Jordan Neely being alive and having a pulse after the chokehold went down, but then later dying in the hospital. I kept thinking to myself, well, there has to be some other contributing factors here. I mean, come on. And look, anytime somebody dies, it's horrible. It's so sad. And my heart breaks for Jordan Neely's family and his friends. But Daniel Penny, he's not a killer. He's not a monster. He did not wake up that morning thinking that he was going to kill somebody on the subway. That is just not what happened. And I saw, actually, shockingly, on CNN of all places, a lawyer, Arthur Aidala, he actually stepped up and said something along the lines of, look, not one avid subway rider in New York City is upset with that verdict. And that's correct, in my opinion, because if you've got a guy on the subway screaming and saying things like he doesn't care if he dies or goes to jail, yeah, I'm going to be scared. Especially, my gosh, if I have kids with me, if it's a horrible situation. And again, anytime a life is lost, it's awful. But what's also awful, in my opinion, again, is what Daniel Penny went through up until this point when he really thought he was doing a service to the subway riders, and he was. Jordan Neely, like I said, he did have a past criminal record. He was in and out of Rikers, but Daniel Penny did not know that. He didn't know anything. All he knew is that people were in danger, and he felt like he had to step in and do something. And something else listen, I knew this was going to happen, but this whole thing has turned into another race war yet again, and the prosecution was accused of making this whole trial about race and kind of turning it into a hate crime, if you will, and it just wasn't a hate crime. He wasn't charged with a hate crime either, and I think it's really scary to think about that the BLM leaders are coming out and stating that now there should be black vigilantes to go and kill white people. And guys, if you think I'm making this up, you can go ahead and search any news station, any local New York news station. They'll have Hawk Newsome saying just this. They need black vigilantes. So he is inciting violence when it just breaks my heart, again, because nobody wanted Jordan Neely to die. Nobody did. And the rhetoric that Daniel Penny didn't care after, he was disrespectful. I mean, Daniel Penny also did not know that Jordan Neely had passed away. He thought he was fine because, like I said, he had a pulse. But anyway, I don't want to drone on about this. And in this case, it shouldn't be political, but everything in our country somehow turns political. But I am just speaking as a subway rider. I'm speaking as a person that takes the subway and really would like for someone to stick up for me if something like that happens, and stick up for my children as well. And I don't think that anybody would do that if Daniel Penny was found guilty and sentenced to 15 years in prison. I think that we would all be doomed. But moving on, the other breaking news, and I also had the pleasure of telling Howie Mandel that they caught the alleged shooter of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. We now know his name to be Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old Penn Ivy League graduate, valedictorian of his private high school in Maryland called the Gilman School. He is now in custody. And yes, I told Howie Mandel this when our interview first started, and I think the reporter and the crime-obsessed woman in me wanted to keep talking about it. And he's like, okay, let's get to why we're here. Deal or no deal, and America's Got Talent. And I was like, wah, wah, wah. But no, I'm kidding. Howie's great. He knew what we were here to talk about, and I just need to get some focus. I'm always all over the place, and I'm like, no, Lauren, don't start with the CEO. Howie's not here to talk about that. But really quickly, as most of you know, I did go around Manhattan over the weekend and really trace Luigi Mangione's steps around the city, trying to figure out how long it would take for the police and for the FBI to catch this guy. And when I say I was trying to figure out how long it would take them to catch him, this was my experience looking at all of the cameras. This was why I was thinking to myself, okay, it will either be a long time or it won't be a long time based on the amount of cameras in the locations that he was spotted at. So, for example, the hostel. I went to the hostel. It had so many cameras in the lobby. I mean, we all saw the picture of him smiling, pulling his mask down. And by the way, guys, he was named the flirty assassin. I just think that's so silly because he didn't pull his mask down to flirt. He pulled his mask down to show his face so they could match the ID that they had with him. And I guess he just smiled. And by the way, that fake ID, it was a Jersey fake ID. The name on it was Mark Rosario. He was also found with that ID when he was captured by Pennsylvania police, but I will get to that in a minute. But no, so I went to the hostel. I talked to the surrounding businesses there who all told me that they gave up their surveillance footage to the NYPD. So I'm like, man, they are going to know every Gatorade this guy bought, every coffee he bought, every move that he made, which will possibly give them insight into motive. Well, we now know that there is a manifesto released. There was one that was released the day of his arrest in Pennsylvania, but that turned out to be fake. News sources are putting out the newest manifesto that was released Wednesday, December 11th. So I do believe that to be real. I am going to wait another day before I decide to read it and print it and put it out there, just in case. But yeah, so then lastly, I went to Central Park, where there were divers by this place called The Lake. It's a large body of water in Central Park. It's not the largest, but it's a very heavily touristy area. It's right by the boathouse, the Bethesda fountain, and there were dive teams searching for evidence, and NYPD stated that they believed that they could possibly find the gun, the murder weapon that was used. But I thought that was strange as well because that body of water is very shallow. It's 6 feet deep or something like that. And there is another larger body of water called the reservoir, which is about 10 blocks from the lake between 86th and 96th Street, which is much deeper. And we know from NYPD that Luigi Mangione actually fled through Central Park, exiting on the west side on 86th Street. So I'm like, thinking to myself, why would he not throw the gun there? Especially if he was in New York for 10 days prior. He checked into the hostel on November 24th. This gave him time to plan and figure out and research. And clearly, we know now that he's a very intelligent guy. So, the gun thing and the getting rid of the evidence thing is a little perplexing because I just assumed that NYPD would have some sort of information that would cause them to spend so much time there and put so many resources to that. And also, there wasn't really any cameras in this area of Central Park. And if there was, they were very, very hidden. So I thought, okay, maybe they had this GPS tracker on the bike that he used, and it seemed to stop in this area, and that indicated to them that he was doing something over there. I guess, we'll wait and see as the investigation unfolds. Now, going back to him being arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania, he was arrested with that fake ID and a 3D printed gun, a quote, ghost gun, and this 2-page manifesto. That all seems really, really convenient to me that he would sit in a McDonald's kind of eating a hash brown, it looked like, in one of the pictures with a gun, with the fake ID he used, and with a manifesto. I mean, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, but I guess the simple answer, if you don't want to go the conspiracy route, is that he wanted to be caught. Another thing is that in his manifesto that I believe to be true right now, he does state that he acted alone. Again, this investigation is ongoing, and right now he's only in Pennsylvania. He's been arraigned in Pennsylvania. He has a lawyer named Thomas Dickey, and they are fighting extradition to New York City, where he will face the second-degree murder charge of Brian Thompson. And look, guys, I get it. I would rather wait in jail in Pennsylvania over Rikers Island. I mean, it's awful. And he has a number of weapon charges as well on his New York felony charge arrest docket. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I don't think that he will fare well at Rikers. And I also want to point out that it is a second-degree murder charge. And I thought to myself at first, well, that's strange. Shouldn't it be first degree? It was premeditated. He definitely planned this. And it looks like he did it in plain sight if that is in fact him, which, guys, come on. It has to be him. Come on now. But no, in New York City, second-degree murder or first-degree murder is only for law enforcement, judges, public figures, or public officers. So everybody else, second degree. I found that out. All right. Anyway, enough with my updates there. I did want to bring you something fun today. Howie Mandel, he is fun. He is so funny. So yes, we have an absolute legend in the house. He's a comedian, an actor, a producer, and the longest running judge on America's Got Talent, which is about to celebrate its milestone 20th season next year. So not only is he here to spill the tea on how you can audition for the upcoming season, which is actually very cool. And you don't have to be a singer, by the way. He gets into all of that. But he's also giving lucky listeners a chance to skip the line and wow these casting producers directly. So you can find out more about that on the America's Got Talent website. But I mean, he talks to me about his comedy tour, about his podcast with his daughter, and then we get into his ongoing battle with OCD. And I think he's wonderful. I think that it's funny. He definitely wanted to stay on track. I guess not everybody likes going off on tangents like I do, but without further ado, I'm going to play my interview with Howie Mandel, and then I'm going to close this out with some other information.
Hi.
How are you?
I think I'm good.
Oh, oh, good. I'm so happy to hear that. You know who's not good? The alleged Brian Thompson CEO shooter who's just been caught.
Oh, did he get caught, the guy?
Yes, it is a crazy breaking news day, Howie. My goodness, they actually just caught him in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and the NYPD just gave a press conference. So I'm coming right off of that with the amazing news of talking to you. So here we are.
All right, and right into what a great segue into the 20th season of America's Got.
Exactly. You are coming up on literally the 20th season of this iconic show. What a milestone. I mean, tell me about your journey getting to the 20th season here.
I'm just hanging on for my dear life. I love it, and it's been a dream come true to sit there and watch dreams come true. You know, people with hopes and dreams who show up and their life changes forever. A great example of that is last season, season 19 winner Richard Goodall, who is a janitor in his mid-50s who never dreamed of being in show business. He just loved Journey, and he would sing for 7-year-olds. Somebody recorded it and put it on TikTok. One of our producers saw it. They said, "Do you want to be in a talent show?" He's never even been on a plane. He flew out for the first time on a plane, and now he's $1 million winner. I'm taking him on tour with me. I still do stand-up a lot, and he's going to open for me December 28th in Fantasy Springs in Palm Springs. But you never know what you're going to see, who you're going to see it from, and how that's going to turn out. And that's why I'm here today to tell people, if you think you have what it takes, auditions for the 20th season are available to you. All you got to do is record yourself and send that to agtauditions.com. And you could also do something nice for somebody else. Maybe you know somebody, a coworker, a family member, a life partner that has a talent. Record them and send that to agtauditions.com. And don't be a judge of what a talent is. The beauty of this show is any age, anything. It's not a singing show. It's not a dancing show. It's an anything show. So if you are amazing at gluing Swiss cheese to your cheek, record it and send that to agtauditions.com.
Okay, and that's actually really great that you clarified that, because I do think a lot of people, if they don't know the show, they do think it's this big singing competition, and that is just a fallacy. It really is everything, and the talent is, gosh, it's so wide ranging. Now, I love what you said about the guy that won who was a janitor. Do you have any other memorable moments or acts from past seasons that really just stick out to you?
Yeah, whether that's Grace Vanderwall, that little girl who's now a beautiful young woman, and I think she was just at the Kennedy Center Honors last night. Or it could be as crazy as he went by horse. I think he changed his name when Howard Stern was the one of the judges. His whole talent was the ability to be hit extremely hard in his manlyhood. And you wouldn't think that's a talent, and I don't know that it is a talent. It might be a shortcoming. But the truth is, he didn't win our show, but he got 6 episodes on MTV, like a Jackass kind of show. So you don't know what will come out of whatever it is that you do, or whatever it is you happen to see. But I want to be, and we all want to be, and the audience wants to be surprised. So let us be the judge. The only thing that's holding you back from a new journey, which is always positive in life, is recording yourself and sending that to agtauditions.com.
Aw. No, that's super sweet. I love that. I love that so much. And you briefly mentioned this, you're about to embark on a nationwide comedy tour. So what can your fans expect from your live shows?
Oh, expect to not see AGT or Deal or No Deal. Don't bring the kids. I don't edit myself. I'm usually with either I'm alone, or I'm with Arsenio Hall, or I'm with one of my friends, and we just, I've always been a stand-up, and I continue to be a stand-up, and that's what I do. And I'm a stand-up who has been afforded the opportunity to judge on a talent show, to host a game show, to do voices on cartoon shows, to act dramatically in a series. But ultimately, I'm always a stand-up. And I have a podcast with my daughter called Howie Mandel Does Stuff. I have another one with a good friend of mine, Harlan Williams, called When a Stranger Calls. And I just get to do all these things that I love to do because I'm a stand-up comic.
Yeah, and I love that. I always love this about Bob Saget as well, how he's this great, clean-cut TV dad, and then he's super not suitable for work after hours. And I think the same can be said about you. And I love that because Howie, I actually was first introduced to you not from Bobby's World, but from that movie Little Monsters with what's his face? Kevin Arnold. I'm blanking on his name, but gosh, I loved it. And I
Fred
loved
Savage.
you.
Freddie
What's
Savage.
Fred Savage? Yes,
Freddie Savage. Fred Savage.
Yep. You were the best monster in that, the most lovable monster ever. I mean, do people still talk to you about that movie?
You do.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know that anybody's mentioned it to me in the last little while, but thank you. I appreciate it. It's a long time ago though.
Yeah.
So, but I've been lucky to do many different things, from movies to game shows to talent shows, and hopefully that keeps. And I'm loving podcasting now.
Mm,
No,
right.
so I like that I get to do all these different things.
Yeah, you do. You are, gosh, you are a jack of all trades and a renaissance man. But so yeah, I grew up with you, on Bobby's World, like I mentioned, and of course, Little Monsters. But I've followed your career and your personal life for a while now, and I do remember that you spoke out about obsessive compulsive disorder, and I have a family member that has that, but do you have any advice for people that might be dealing with that? Because it's a lot. It's a lot on somebody.
Well, I'm not an expert. I'm just a patient,
Mm,
and I work with this company called No CD, which is an app, and the key to OCD is just, number one, identifying that you actually have OCD. So this app, and what I found in the past is people don't know where to go, what to do, and where to get treatment. And I partnered with this app, No CD, because they will, if you think you have it or you have it, you can access online therapists who are experts in this. So
mm,
number one, you can get arranged for a diagnosis, and then you can also arrange at any time, wherever you are at your convenience, geographically or time-wise, to talk to an expert if you need help. Because aside from New York City or LA, it's really hard to
yeah.
get the right people and to afford the right people. So
Yeah.
they're covered. So that's the only advice I can give right now. And
Mm.
but the first
Yeah.
the first step is to identify it and talk about it and be aware of it, and hopefully people around you are aware of it and are compassionate about it and help you cope, because it's really hard.
Yeah, I was going to say that hopefully they have patience and are compassionate. But that's really good advice to get that app because I don't think a lot of people are aware that an app like that actually exists. So I can see how that will be super duper helpful. And Howie, I don't have much time with you, but is there anything that you want to share that you feel is important to share or something that people might not know about you?
I don't think there's anything people don't know about me. Um,
Yeah.
I'm going bald.
Okay, thank you so much. We do have eyes now. But no, 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 no. You've made the choice to be
Want to
bald.
know hidden things about me? My podcast with my daughter. My daughter doesn't hold back, and she continues to embarrass me and reveal very personal things about our life, and that's Howie Mandel does stuff. And you sit with your daughter and co-host something with your daughter. That's the most revealing place I live right now, is on that podcast. So check it out.
Okay. Are you the dad that always is like the typical dad that complains that the house is too hot or the lights are on or like why are all dads like this? I bet your daughter would have something to say about that.
She would have something to say about it. She doesn't live with me anymore. I mean, she's 40. She doesn't live
Yeah.
with me. She has her own kids and her own life. But she's got quite a few stories about growing up with me. And we talk to others. And sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. Dana White told me to go F myself and walked out. Still don't know why. Billy Corrigan was on last week from Smashing Pumpkins and explained
Mm,
that he's probably the half brother of Bill Burr. You should check that out. That's interesting.
wow.
That dropped our jaws to the floor.
Yeah.
Anyway, and check out HowieMandel.com for all my appearances.
Okay, no, definitely will do. And I'm also 40, but I still stay with my dad and I still get a lot of crap from him about leaving the lights on. It's so funny to me. All dads are the same. But but
We're all the
Howie,
same.
yeah, right. I appreciate you taking the time here and I'm very excited for America's Got Talent and to check out everything it is that you're doing. So thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me. Remember, agtauditions.com.
Love it. All right, Howie Mandel. I thought he was sweet. Like I said, I wish I had him for longer and I could have picked his brain on a couple of other things, but that's okay. Maybe I'll have a next time. But I did want to say that I am traveling next week, so I might not put out as much content, or, I probably won't put out any content because I will be kind of busy. I will be tweeting because I will be attending a pretrial hearing for a case that I have been working on, and that is the Kansas Moms case. I'm very nervous because I do feel like this case is just brutal, and sitting in the courtroom will just be heartbreaking and sad, but I'll be tweeting. I'm going to avoid any type of live streaming. I don't necessarily think that will be great for me. uh, yeah, I'll leave it at that. And then when I get back, I will expand on that just a bit. But yeah, I am excited to keep bringing you guys more content like this. I feel like I'm covering so many cases and stories right now. And thank you for listening to all of my Pop Crime TV live streams. I know it can sound kind of awkward when you're just listening to the audio, but I do feel like it's important that I put this audio on the Outlier as well because it ties everything together with what I'm doing. So I really appreciate everybody dealing with any tech issues or sound issues and just really focusing on the content. But anyway, guys, if you don't subscribe to Pop Crime TV on YouTube, you really should. And you should also rate this on Apple or wherever you listen. This podcast, The Outlier. I would be so grateful. I'm Lauren Conlin. Thanks again for listening.